Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Patrick Anderson, and we have just finished day one of the 2013 Bench Press Nationals. And we are interviewing Lance Slaughter. Lance just finished a fantastic competition. He was in a dogfight, a battle with Jose Perez for the Masters national title. And we're going to do an interview here with Lance so that some of the people out here watching the Ustream can learn a little bit more about some of the top bench pressers in the country. So first thing we want to start with is congratulations.
Thank you.
How do you feel about your performance compared to what you were expecting?
Well, I feel good and grateful because, I came here to win my division, get on the Masters Worlds team, and that's what I did. So I feel good about that first. So I have a lot of gratitude. It did not go as well as I had hoped in terms of how the weight fell in my hands. But, again, no complaints. The first task is to win, get on the team. So with that, I'm both pleased and grateful.
Now, what number were you actually looking for? Because you just said it didn't go how you planned. So give a little insight to the lifters and the people at home. What were you actually shooting
I mean, if I had my dream day, it would have gone with me opening up at 185 and having that look ridiculously easy.
Which you did open at 185, but it wasn't as easy as you wanted.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then I would have gone to 195 and 200. 195 would have been a PR for me in competition. Okay. And I'm relatively new to this weight class, so my competition best is at the old 148-pound weight class was 192.5, 424 pounds. So if I'd gone to 195, that would have been a competition PR. And then I really had my training and my competency set at 200 kilos. I have been doing that in the gym. Wow. So I thought that would have been a nice button on today's work, but you know how it is in meets.
It doesn't always go
first to second to third attempt. You got to go with just what the day gives you, and that's essentially what I did.
Well, and you were in a battle, for those who got to watch it today, with Jose Perez. And
that's right.
Down where it was fascinating as me announcing, Jose actually won the open division.
That's right, yeah.
But yet got second in the 50 to 54 division because Lance was kind enough to not enter the open division to give the young guys a chance to win a national title, so he wouldn't take it from him.
No,
that's pretty impressive.
Well, to be fair, Lance was smart enough not to enter the open division with Joe Smith in it. Because, again, Joe Smith, although he did not have the date that he had planned for, is still one of the best 74-kilo lifters in the world. So it was only from that, and my heart, and quite frankly, my intention was to get on that Masters Worlds team. So I didn't need to I needed to enter the Open.
Would you have, if you would have entered the Open, would you have gone to the Open Worlds too, Open Bench Worlds? Or probably not.
Probably not.
So it's one of those situations you weren't going to go anyway.
No, and it's for that in terms of why I didn't enter.
And the people who got to see Joe actually ended up, unfortunately, not recording a bench press, but he took a couple shots at 551 and then 567.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why Lance ended up doing the Masters, and it ended up being a great battle.
Yeah, it was. I mean, Jose is one heck of a lifter. He won the Pan Ams earlier this year, and I knew it was going to be a battle. So was very fortunate to have Steve Petrancic run my numbers today.
That makes a big difference.
Huge difference. I mean, I told Steve backstage after we were done, I would not have won this competition had I not had him.
So he deserves a little bit of that medal.
You know what?
Maybe
if I have it, he can have all of it, because I just wanted my ticket to Masters Bench Press Worlds, and he can have the medal because really he's the one who got that thing wrapped around my neck.
Well, I've actually had the opportunity, I'm sure you have too, to coach lifters in big meets, and I think coaching's harder than lifting, because lifting, all you do, if the coaching's done right, all you do is 3 attempts in the bench meet or 9 attempts in regular. But the coach got to do everything else. So Steve definitely deserves credit.
No, absolutely. And our plan was to just essentially stay 2.5 kilos ahead of Jose. He had me on body weight. He had me on lot number. So the only way that I was going to have the weight in my hands to put me in a position to win was to basically continue to stay ahead of him in terms of the attempts. And as you were calling it, I'm sure we went down to the third changer.
Well, it was fascinating because we were announcing it. As you know, a bench meet essentially becomes like the deadlift.
That's right.
Full meet.
That's right.
And so it's a unique situation because typically when you're benching in a full meet, you don't have the luxury of changing your weight. And today that was quite a battle.
It was cool.
We have a few questions from some of our viewers online, so let's go ahead to some of these. One of the lifters wants to know how much of your workout routine is raw. I'm assuming they mean percentage-wise. When you're training percentage-wise, do you put a shirt on? How often compared to when you lift without a shirt?
That's a great question, and actually almost all of it's raw, if I were to be completely blunt. I don't know that I'll do that in preparation for Masters Bench Press Worlds, but what I intended to do was compete at Raw Nationals this year. Okay. Which was in a lot of parts. No, exactly. It was only about 3 or 4 weeks ago, but I had some issues with my hip and my knee, and that precluded that, and I didn't want to go to basically take token squats and deadlifts just to bench, because I was just going to come and do that here. But what that did was create a cycle in which I really wanted to prepare for that Raw. And I did not put on a shirt until after that that meet
so
day
how
took
many
place.
workouts did you put a shirt on?
3.
3 for this meet.
Yeah, which was short. In all candor.
You know, it's interesting. Sometimes that's the best because
Yeah.
sometimes you have your best workout on that 3rd or 4th shirted workout, but then you keep going,
You know,
and you actually end up.
Pat, that's
decreasing
how
a
I
bit.
approached it. That essentially this was going to be my 4th workout in the cycle, and that was going to give me
Which
swim.
is
I'd be fresh.
oftentimes your best one.
Your best one.
Because you've gotten a few workouts to get used to.
That's right. So I wasn't absolutely concerned, but I do feel that I probably could have benefited from it. But yeah, so I basically do almost all of my training raw. For the most part, I train alone. I train raw.
Which makes putting the shirt on really difficult.
It does. I take my own handoffs, and I'm very, very fortunate in preparation for competitions like this to have SSPT. Matt Gary and Susie Gary's gym in Rockville, Maryland, which is relatively close. So I'm able to train there typically 3 to 4, 5, 6 weeks out. So again, I don't train raw up into competition, but generally I do. So when you ask like what my percentage of raw, it's almost, I guess, 90%.
Wow.
Over the course
I've
of the year.
actually had the luxury to train at that gym. I'm originally from Maryland, so
Yep.
that's a world-class gym
It
with
is.
world-class coaching
That's
and world-class lifters.
Right.
So you fit right in at that place.
Yeah, thank
Let's
you.
move ahead. We
Sure.
have a meet director question, which there's only a few powerlifters who can answer this because
Right.
I've never had enough brain damage to put on a meet before. So
And I have.
As a former meet director,
Yeah.
are you glad to be the one lifting this year as opposed to putting the meet on?
Yes. I mean, it's tough. It takes up a lot of energy. The good news, I did compete last year when I hosted Bench Press Nationals, and I think I got through it because I knew that was the last time I was going to put on a meet. I'm essentially retired from putting on meets, and I had good help. So it wasn't as stressful as, say, it may have been for Josh. This was his first national championship, and I want to add, he did one heck of a job. It's a great venue, lots of energy and excitement here, obviously fully utilizing all the technology, but it's tough. And yes, it's a real blessing to be able to just come and be an athlete and lift.
Yeah, it makes the weights a lot lighter when you're not the one having to do 1,000 things.
It does.
Not just meet day, but leading up to the meet.
Yeah.
Because it's all the other stuff.
I was joking with some of the lifters in the lobby last night that, my diet was spot on, my training was good, this kind of being week 4. Everything was going great. It was like, okay, so really the only thing that's left is for me to screw this up because essentially I had no excuses,
No excuses.
I wasn't putting on a meet, I had nothing, not refereeing, but it was great.
Well, it ended up you didn't need any excuses because you ended up doing what you're supposed to.
Yeah.
We have another question
Sure.
here. Do you have any advice, and I'm sure you could go on for hours for this, but some advice for young bench pressers, people out there who are watching and thinking, just starting out. We had a kid here today, 11 years of age, bench 143.
That's awesome.
And we saw, of course, a 93-year-old. So there's a full spectrum of benchers. So you
That's
tell me,
amazing.
what would be your advice for a new bench presser, someone starting out?
Actually it's simple and it wouldn't take a long time. Technique. I mean, it's really about technique.
I second that.
The main thing that I would encourage for younger lifters is trying to get with a really good coach who can teach you to lift properly in every aspect. And so if you're doing all 3 lifts, really learning how to squat properly, not squat heavy per se, but squat properly. That'll get you the heavier weights. When I look at my age, my weight class, I have no business. I am not strong enough to do these weights. But what I do have confidence in is my technique. So, it's just, in my view, that simple. That's what gives you all the confidence when you compete. At the end of the day, even when you're not feeling well, and I got to tell you, well, you saw my opener. I mean, it wasn't the great. And I knew that it was because I had a flaw in my technique. And when I could just zero in on that and not question my energy, whether or not I'd eaten enough, did I sleep enough, and I just said, let me just focus down in my technique, what I know I can do, the second one was much easier, and that was the one that won today.
Well, and what was interesting is I had a good view of the first attempt, and so I knew it wasn't as good
Sorry
as you'd
about
like.
that.
But it's interesting because you're saying how you knew immediately it was technically off.
Yeah.
Well, we were watching numerous bench pressers make mistakes and missing lifts because of it. And so your lift that didn't look as good as you expected actually looked, from my vantage point, pretty good. Now, you know yourself better, so you can notice the slightest difference.
That's right.
But it's really what you hit on the head. To lift the maximum weights, the technique is at a premium. So you noticed the slightest difference, and then were able to come back on the second attempt and actually hit more weight easier because you were in better form.
That's right.
And essentially that won you a national title and a trip to the Masters World. So
that's it, man.
now, I actually am ignorant on this answer. Where is the Masters Worlds, Bench Press Worlds? I don't actually know. Do you know the answer to that?
I do.
Where is it
It's
this
in
year?
Great Britain this year, in the North Country, closer to Scotland, actually, than, say, London. It's in a town
jealous.
called Northumberland. And I have been to London, but have not had an opportunity to go into the North Country or Scotland. So I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, that was a
awesome
motivation to get me to come back and train the way that I needed to train and approach the meet the way I did, because I really, really wanted to go.
And that is in April, March. When does that mean?
It is in April.
April. So
Yep.
you've roughly got, well, you actually got a pretty good amount of time. I guess the way they set the Nationals and the Masters Bench Press World, you have about 8 months.
Yeah,
so.
I'm good. I'm good.
All right, we actually are going to be wrapping up shortly, and we have a little bit of one more question from the audience here.
Nope.
I'm not sure necessarily if I feel safe answering this. Let's see. Who is stronger, Lance or his wife? So, Lance, you have to answer that question. Who
Easy.
is stronger, you or your wife?
My wife.
Well, I was just going to say, how long have you been married?
Now a little more than a year and a half.
Okay, well, if you're a smart guy, because I've been married 6 years, and I don't know much about anything, but
Right.
I know the answer to that question is your wife.
Yeah, well, but
And
let's
my
be
wife's
clear,
never
though.
powerlifted a day of her life.
But you
and
know
I would
what?
say my
No,
wife.
let's be clear, though. I mean, she's an accomplished Olympic weightlifter.
Oh,
Gone
wow,
to
I
the
didn't
Olympic
know that.
Games. Yeah, 5-time world champion, 8-time
Oh, so she
national.
really is stronger than
I'm saying she is strong. She's a hell of an athlete, and she's coaching now, and that's why she couldn't be here this weekend, because she's coaching an athlete who set PRs this weekend. So glad that she's there. But no, Kara is the person who actually got me back to compete again, because I was so inspired by her competition, the way she still trains today, that I said, let me go back to doing that.
So is she still competing in Olympic weightlifting?
No, she's not. She's officially retired, at least from open competition. She's thought about perhaps going to Masters competition, but she has so many athletes that she's working with now that are competing in Master Olympic weightlifting, combined with some that are competing and are top athletes in the CrossFit Games. She's really just putting all of her time towards it.
So are we at risk of losing you, because we lose powerlifters occasionally to Olympic lifting? Is she going to steal your powerlifting from us, or is that not an issue?
Well, it's funny, because very early on, I think someone asked us the question. I asked her the question. Will our child, if we have a child, be an Olympic weightlifter or a powerlifter?
You have a split family there.
And she just laughed. So I think you can tell what her answer was.
Well, we can relate to that. Down here in the South, we have some Auburn and Alabama families and Georgia Tech families. So, in a situation like that, of course, we'd want powerlifting to win out.
But you know our sport. Look at their top Olympic weightlifters. You take out Kendrick Ferris, what do we have? Mark Henry, Shan Heyman, now Caleb Williams.
Yep.
They were all powerlifters, right?
Yeah, they stole our best one, so we don't want to lose you. All right, I think we're going to wrap it
Good.
up, because we have
Thank
another
you.
interview. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Congratulations
Thank
on
you.
a great job.
Appreciate
Lance.
it. Thank you.